Man, do you hear that? Look at here. They're coming. They're coming. We're going to have a party. I'm talking good on barbecue. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Old Boy Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we have a great guest with us today, TC Turner, my man, the Redbeard Butcher. How are you today, TC?
Oh, man, doing great, buddy. Living the dream. How you doing?
Man, doing well, balancing a couple of cooks out. But we're getting towards the end of, this will date us a little bit, but a little bit of this end of spring training here.
Yeah.
So, fortunate being in Florida, we got a lot of the teams here, so got a chance to cook for the Tigers today, and then going to turn around and head about an hour and a half south and cook for the Braves and shoot a couple videos with them tomorrow. So sad part is it's all over this weekend, and they head back to their home states, and we're just stuck with the minor leaguers at that point.
Yeah, that's good, man. I love spring training. Growing up in Arizona, we used to be able to hit a lot of the spring training and stuff like that too. Is one of my favorite times of the year, March for sure, just because of all the games. And we like to get the tickets and just sit out on the grass and drink some cold beers and eat some hot dogs and just have a great time.
You talking my love language right there, old boy. I like it. So, nice. Man, I'm looking forward to this interview because, being a barbecue guy, understand a whole ton around cooking and, even understanding, the animal and the genetics. But one of the things I've always wanted to dive deeper into and learn more about, and have kind of just always done it really off of feel and just following the lines, if you will, and that's butchery. What an art, what a beautiful thing it is. Talk to me a little bit about, when did that butchery bug bite you? Did you grow up in it? How did you end up getting here?
Yeah, so really the truth is my dad was a butcher the whole time I was growing up. So I tell people all the time that I guess I went to meat cutter college for like 18 years and didn't know it, just listening to him when he came home after work and talking and stuff. And when I was old enough to like be helpful after hunting seasons and things like that, my dad would always pick up side jobs, cutting up elk and cutting up deer and doing different things for people. So I tagged along often, just wanting to be with dad and see what he's doing. And so I started to learn a little bit of the tricks of the trade, and just kind of what goes on butchering when I was really young. So, so I got started, and then I started working in the grocery store when I was 16, like cleaning up in the meat department and all that good stuff. And so it just kind of stuck with me, once I got out of high school, just went right into it full time. And, here we are 27 years later, still putting along.
That's pretty awesome. And it's, I'm sure, one, I love just, working in a trade and using your hands and, but also, to put on top of that, learning it from your pops, that has to be pretty special.
It was great to get to work with him and learn a lot. And, he passed away a few years ago. So since I've been starting to be able to be part of some of the things I've done the last 3 or 4 years, he hasn't been here to see it, but I know he would have loved it. That's probably with anybody who gets started in anything, you have to have a good mentor, and having a couple awesome mentors along the way really kind of got me going on my path. It's so helpful.
No, that's amazing. And I love it. And I'm sure your dad's looking down, proud as hell of you, man. We're going to go through those accomplishments today in the podcast. I look forward to it. Another thing you kind of brought up in that intro, and it kind of reminded me, I guess about 14 and a half, 15 years old, I started working at a grocery store too, Publix here. Didn't work in the meat department, but I had a buddy that did, and he always said it's the best job in the store. He goes, yeah, I got to clean up. He goes, but most of it, like, you're cleaning up with water, so like it's not too hard. And he goes, the other thing is it's always cool. Yeah. And we were always guys that, always, we could walk out and it'd be 55 degrees and sweat. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yes, so he was like, man, he's like, dude, I love that we can just, I'm in the AC the whole time, man. He's like, it's awesome.
Yeah, it feels good. We were talking about that yesterday, just how our environment is controlled cool, We had one of the guys that worked with us, the winter was coming in. He goes, I got to start getting my long johns and stuff out. And I said, dude, it's the same temperature all day long every day back here, man. Nothing changes for us.
Absolutely. No, I love it. You talked about, going along and helping dad, during hunting season and things like that. As a kid, in what part of the country were you in at this time, TC?
Central Arizona, Prescott, Arizona.
Okay. And I think a lot of people don't realize there's some awesome game in Arizona.
Yeah, it's a great state.
There's good hunting.
Yeah. We grew up, man. We had deer and javelina and quail and stuff right in our backyard, literally.
Yeah, and you were talking about processing elk and some of those kind of things. Like, what do you think as a kid when you see an animal like that? Like, I know the first time I saw an elk, harvested on hoof, I'm like, this is a freaking majestic animal. Like, they're awesome.
Oh, they're incredible, and I had a ton of respect for them before I ever got to cut them up because we always went out during the archery season, so they're just bugling and
Mhm.
the woods are electric, and you just hear these big animals and they're running around and they're doing their thing. And they really are just, they're impressive. They're big. And also they're delicious.
Oh man,
That's the
you're
thing.
telling me
Yeah. I
that,
love 'em.
and that's where I get lucky. I get to cook a good amount of hunt camps. Probably one of the coolest ones I've got to cook is Deseret Ranch out in Utah, and they
Okay.
kill some banger
Yeah.
elk out there. Getting to go back and cook it. I mean, I remember I'm pretty good friends with John Dudley, which is a really good archer, and he had talked to me about it because I didn't come from an outdoors background. I really, got immersed in the outdoors when I went to work for Traeger, 8-9 years ago.
Okay.
But I've got to meet some awesome outdoor folks between John and Joe Rogan and those guys, and always hearing John talk about elk and Joe talk about elk. I'm like, damn, man, I got to try this. And I remember the first one they harvested, they brought it back. I just treated it like I would a really, really, really lean beef. I'm a big reverse sear guy. So I want to say on the tenderloins, I want to say I smoked them to about 110 and then pulled them off and seared them to about 122.
Okay.
Carry over to about 126, 127. Because that meat's just too precious, dude. And if you got a problem not eating it rare to medium rare, I'll cook you a friggin' hamburger. Yeah, I'm not going to waste that.
No, that's right. I got to go out back in December and work with some of the guys from Whitetail Properties at this cool lodge they built out in Kansas called Buffalo Nickel Lodge. And we did a class on wild game processing. And Pete, who's one of the co-owners of the lodge there, we cooked up. We threw some backstraps after we processed 2 deer. We threw the backstraps into like a smoker box, and gave them some flavor and started to bring them up till temp. And then we hit him with a quick sear on one of those Argentinian grills. And he said, dude, he goes, I'm picky. He's owned restaurants. He's been in the business. He goes, I'm a picky son of a bitch. I'm hard to please. He goes, that was one of the best fucking meals I've ever had. I love cooking the wild game, just like you said, dude.
Dude, it's awesome. Another story I've got that's kind of funny and kind of similar to that, but I was in the Don't Know Squared quadrant was years ago. This is before I was at Traeger. And so I already kind of exposed my hand. I did not have much wild game cooking experience at all. And was doing a contract with another company that was working with Kid Rock. And so we'd done the Daytona 500 together, cooked for him in the infield. And then we went to this place in Alabama and got there, and we had 2 days worth of videos to shoot and blah, blah, blah. And we get done with the first day, and he's like, hey, man, he's like, can you do me a favor? I was like, yeah. He's like, I've got this wild turkey breast. And it was a big ass turkey breast. This Osceola that he harvested must have been King Strut because it was a large ass breast off that thing. And then he had an Axis deer strap, backstrap, which if we know anything about venison, that's the leanest of the lean.
Yeah, that's the key.
And I'm like, and no internet access. So like, I'm not going to throw a quick Google on it. So I just reverse seared kind of the same way I did the elk. I did the elk that way because I learned it on this Axis backstrap. So 110, seared it off to 125, 127. And then the turkey breast, I was just like, chicken always likes consistent temperature. So I cooked it at 275 and I pulled it at 155 and cut it up and took it over to Bobby and his family and served it to and just left it. Went back to kind of cleaning up, getting ready for the next day. And he came over and he's like, dude, he's like, I've ate wild game in a lot of places. He's like, maybe 2 of the best damn bites I've ever had. And I was like, whoa, man, maybe I got a thing for this. Who knows?
There you
but
go.
I think, though, too, it's the simplicity, even in the meat case, whether you're looking at wild game, whether you're just looking at beef, pork, like, just look at the marbling and kind of make your cooking decisions based off of that. Would you say that's a good guideline as a butcher, just for us, barbecue folks that don't nearly have the knowledge of meat that you do?
Oh, totally, and first, I want to say, like, you guys' knowledge is immense, maybe in different areas than mine, But I learn a lot from talking to all the barbecue guys all the time, and we kind of share back and forth. But what I've kind of learned is, yeah, I mean, I like to pick off of marbling, prime grade, Wagyu, they both going to carry good marbling. But I've also learned to kind of pick off of the structure of the meat, right? The feel of the meat will make a big difference. And then, like cook times, I found that each different protein, depending on where the cut comes from and your cooking style, takes a little bit different temperature, finishing temperature as well, So maybe I like a filet at 125, but I might like a ribeye at 135 or 138.
Yeah, completely. I mean, because you got to break down that fat. I'd tell a story when when Wagyu brisket kind of became this new up and coming craze in competition barbecue. So years ago, because it's obviously taken over now. I bought one, $200, about choked. I think that was about all the prize money I had that year up to that point.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey, I want to get ahead of it and figure it out. And one of my buddies had a little experience. He had cooked a couple of them, and I cooked it just like I would a prime. And so I pull it off like between 203 and 205, let it rest, just cut at the end, took a bite of it. I was like, this is terrible. This tastes rancid. Took another little slice off of it, down off the corner, tasted it again. I'm like, holy shit, this is rancid. And I just kind of picked up the meat and I looked at it and I'm like, well, I think I know why. And I called my buddy and I was like, hey man, I cooked this Wagyu like a prime, prime temps, and it tastes rancid. He's like, have you looked at it? I was like, yeah, I still see what looks like some uncooked fat striations. Is that why it tastes rancid? He's like, I'm pretty sure. So I folded it back up and put it back on and cooked it to about 212, 215. Man, so good.
Money. Yeah.
But I think that just talks to understanding your marbling, understand your grading, and understanding, you want to cook that out to a point to where it's just still that, that nice melty, you don't want it solidified still, but you still get that nice, flavor from it. But yeah, and I always tell people too, like, you only learn, you can educate yourself as much as you want to, but man, you got to get your hands dirty. You know what I mean? Like you got to get in there. You got to put in the reps, the touch, the feel, the look, like all that stuff. It just makes a huge difference when it comes down to, that those finishing touches and really taking a good dish and making it great.
Yeah, I agree. We get so many questions just about cooking all the time. I feel like that's half of what we do at the meat counter is just talking to people through their cooks and helping them decide on what's the best for their guest and how many pounds they're going to need or what they want to go with. But we get so many people that are brand new to the barbecue world, that they're like, hey, my wife just bought me an offset. I've always wanted one. I've never used it. Or I just got a new pellet smoker. I've never used it. Where should I start? I'm really thinking about like, I want to do a Wagyu brisket or I want to do a prime rib. And I'm like, hey, dude, let's start with a whole chicken, right? Let's
Yes.
start to understand. Let's start to understand what you're doing. Let's put a good brine on that. Let's get like one consistent, temperature cook under your belt and like understand what's going on. And then we'll kind of start baby stepping you up. And, before too long, they're finding their groove and they're coming in, they're playing with different things and it's really working out. So
I always tell people, like, pick the most inexpensive cut of meat. Like anytime somebody wants to do their first overnight smoke, they're like, man, I'm gonna go buy a brisket. And I'm like, yeah, I'd pump the brakes. Why don't we go get a pork butt? Much cheaper, much more forgiving.
Yeah.
You pull that pork butt at 198 or you pull it at 207. It's still going to be pretty good. You do that with a brisket.
It's going to be
the window's a little too big for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I one of the things that I've been starting people with lately, that's kind of a really cool cut is like, instead of going right to a brisket, because brisket is, inherently it's just like a super tough cut, right? And it's got a lot of big hunks of fat and a lot to play with. I pull whole Denvers off of boneless chuck rolls, like whole pieces of Denver. It's lean, it's marbled. And I send that with them and I get them cooking on those and they come back and rave. The only problem is then that's all they want to buy. I can't get them off them.
I was about to say, and there ain't a whole lot of those on the cow.
No.
But I know what you're talking about. That Denver cut, it is absolutely delicious, and I could see how that would get people hooked for sure.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So talking a little bit more about your journey, getting out of high school, working the meat counter, and then, you've taken that and really taken it to some cool places. As far as I want to talk about some of these international competitions you've done. What is that progression? What were some of the challenges? And where did you kind of feel like, where you started to feel that everyday confidence of, you can throw whatever at me and I feel like I can handle it?
Yeah, I think it just comes with years of experience. That's really the truth of it. You got to get in, and you got to get your hands dirty. And I never really pigeonholed myself when it came to cutting meat, right? A lot of guys, they get in, they'll go to work for a union shop, and they'll work in the exact same meat shop or, similar meat shops for 25, 30 years. And all they've learned is one avenue of butchery. So I was fortunate that when I wasn't cutting meat in the beginning, when I wasn't cutting meat at the grocery store that I was working at, I was out, helping break down cattle with some of these custom exempt processors and break down the wild game meat, and playing around with doing some sausages and like really screwing things up really bad in the beginning, as I was learning. But that's the only way you do it, right? You got to screw it up. Yeah. And so
I always tell people I was 165 pounds, so I got into barbecue. You got to eat some mistakes, bud.
Yeah, you got to do something with them. And so when back in 2008, my wife and I and our kids, we left Arizona, and I'd always just been in traditional regular retail up until that point. And then I went to work for Whole Foods Market out in Denver. We moved out to Colorado, and I went to work for Whole Foods Market, and I learned like there's a whole nother avenue to building cases and setting displays and really working that interaction with customers and things along those lines. And then a few years into my career at Whole Foods Market, Whole Foods came out and said, "Hey, we're going to do this best butcher competition, and we're just going to kind of see, we're going to break it down. We're going to separate out regions, and then we're going to see who's the best butchers are out there." And so fortunately, I was lucky enough, talented enough, knew enough to be able to represent the Rocky Mountain region for the Whole Foods Market Best Butcher competition. So I got to travel to some cool places with Whole Foods. I visited San Francisco, Austin, Texas, Portland, Oregon, and got to do some different stuff like that. We did a big butcher competition up at Feast Portland in Portland, if you remember when they used to do that back. Like,
I do remember that.
I think it was like 2013, 2014, something like that, And so that was where I first started picking up some trophies and some wins along the lines. And I thought that was pretty cool, So then our career, following my wife's career path, we moved out to southern Utah. She was actually working in Las Vegas, but we were living in St. George. We didn't want to take our kids down to Las Vegas. And we're
beautiful area.
Yeah, man. You got Zion National Park. Yeah, you got all the red rocks. You got the lakes right there. It's a cool place. So,
and how far from Moab? Not too terribly far, right?
From Moab, it's a drive. It's kind of on the other side of the state. But you're over by the southwest corner. So you're by like Zion National Park and Bryce Canyon.
Zion.
It's not too far at all.
Confused with Zion, and I got Zion and Moab confused.
Yeah.
I'm not a geography major.
No, that's all right. They're both, the red arches and clays and sandstone and stuff. They're very similar. I started working with a great little independent butcher shop out there, and just learning more and working a lot in the custom exempt. And then I started my Instagram account. And man,
and let me just stop you right there real quick, TC. Talk about, you mentioned it a couple of times now, custom exempt. What's that mean?
So custom exempt means you're working in a small butcher shop, and the meat is not for resale. So what you're doing is you are actually processing people's beef. For example, if you were to go to a local farmer in your area and say, "Hey, I want to buy a cow from you to fill up my freezer," that wouldn't go to a USDA slaughter facility for resale. That would go to a custom exempt processor, and they process your animals for you. So I loved it because you're working with like the salt of the earth people. You're working with people that are all about family. They're all about home. They're all about working hard, and they're blue collar as hell. And I just loved it. I loved working with those people. It meant that meat meant something to them. The process, the kid who raised it, it meant something. Well,
and you probably got a lot of 4-H and FFA animals too. Did you during fair season?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Loaded.
Yeah, and that's cool too. That's so cool.
Those kids work so hard on that. And there's some beautiful animals too, you know. They do a really good job
Yeah,
with that stuff.
and you know what? I feel like, and you can talk to this probably better than me, but I feel like we're reaching a real movement just in talking to people where this is becoming more and more popular. People want to know where their beef was raised, where their pork was raised, where their chickens were raised, going to these small independent butchers, getting it butchered, into the cuts they want, the quantities they want. You know what I mean? Like to me, I think, are you seeing that also where it tends to be people, coming back more towards that, home raised experience, knowing where your food came from?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. It's important to a lot of people right now, and people want to keep it local and they want to keep it tight. I think the downfall in my on my side of the industry, on the retail side, is there's a lot of companies that are using these fancy catchphrases, keywords to kind of bullshit people into thinking that they're buying that when they're not. So I think it's really important to tell my customers all the time, just like be really careful and understand what you're doing before you just jump into something because of a word on a label. Like know the ranchers.
Yep. And I got to say, I remember in my mind the day it started to turn a little bit. I was years ago when I was working in Publix doing some buying in one of our manufacturing facilities, and I was buying a shit ton of meat, probably 8-10 truckloads a week between inside rounds, outside rounds, bunch of pork products. And I remember the day Smithfield sold to the Chinese, and I was like, how in the fuck are we giving control of that much of our meat supply to a foreign country or a company that's owned by a company in a foreign country with deep ties in that foreign country? I guess that's the right way to say it.
Sure.
It appalled me as an American. Like, did you have any of those same feelings being someone that grew up in the meat industry? And it's only gotten fucking worse since then because we've let them acquire more people. Yeah, but they have consolidated the pork industry right in our face and are running it all out of China. I mean, that's terrifying.
Yeah, that's why working with the local guys, I feel is just super important. If you're in a situation that you can, I think it's valuable to do so. I think it's really valuable to always keep your business as close as you can. On the flip side of things, I understand that there's lots of big major cities and things like that where people don't have that opportunity. They'll never know a farmer. They'll never know a rancher. They don't understand the whole food system. So there has to be access to good, high quality meat for them as well. So I do see the conventional side of it as well as the the small farmer side of it. I like the small farmer side of it the most, but there's a lot of places for both. But man, the fact of our food system being controlled by other people, that's real scary. That could put us in a predicament quick.
Absolutely. And this is not a plug for them, but I got to use some of their product at the Super Bowl this year, and I was really, really impressed by it. Have you seen any of the Good Ranchers product? It's a mail order situation, and you can order different boxes, and you can order one time or whatever the case may be. But they brought all the meat out for me to cook for the Dan Patrick Show during the Super Bowl, and we just thought it was some of the, Julie and I were looking at it, and it's just, you know how that good chicken has that really white skin. It's not huge. It's not all hormoned up. You know what I mean? But it's got that beautiful white skin. The pork has that. There's just a pink color that pork has when you can tell that it was raised well. It's been taken care of. It was taken care of through the cold chain, all those things. And that, to me, if somebody that's in one of those big cities is looking for something, once again, this is not a sponsored deal. It's just, I used their product. I would recommend it to people, but the Good Ranchers folks, they did a really good job, and I was impressed with it. So if you're listening to this and you're like, damn, I don't have a farmer, or there's no way I'm going to have a farmer, I live in downtown Chicago, that may be an outlet. I'm sure there are plenty others out there, but to me, that was one that I don't mind recommending to people because I was really impressed with the product.
Yeah, no, I haven't, but I can tell you once I get off here, I'm going to go look it up right away and try to find out a little bit more about it.
If it's something that interests you, get in touch with me, and I bet I can have a box show up at your house if you'd like to try it and be able to speak to it, because they're good guys. They're trying to grow the brand, and they've got a good product, and that's usually the only people that I'll talk about is, if it's something I believe in and something that if you come to my house, you can expect on the table.
Yeah, that's right. And the thing I like about the pork even more so than the beef that really stands out is, the beef is just beef everywhere you go for the most part. Yeah. The pork, it has the saline injections and all the different stuff that gets put into some of those different pork products. So I like the small pork and the small ranchers because it has more flavor, man. It's got a lot more bang for you. And I always like that versus that saline, saltwater flavor.
And they do the same damn thing with chicken.
Yeah.
And then God dang, don't let it come holiday season. They're gonna inject turkeys even more and act like they did you a favor,
Yeah.
And the problem is, and people have to pay attention to this, is when you go and get that turkey and it's already been shot up 15-18% with saline solution, you do not want to go brine that, because they've already pretty much done that for you. And by adding more brine to it, you take a real chance of letting it get a little salty on you.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I've made that mistake before. It really makes a huge difference. And I'm a fan. There's, everybody's making. I mean, hell, I use your brine. Shit, this probably been 6-7 years ago. I bought a little shop in St. George called the Barbecue Pit Stop, right? And I was using that.
Yeah, it's old Steve Johnson, good friend of mine.
Yeah, exactly. And you can over brine a lot of that stuff, so you do absolutely have to make sure. But I'm a big fan of brine. There's so many companies making awesome brines. There's so many different barbecue influencers that have theirs, and if I recommend people brine all the time if they have the opportunity to, just not on a pre-brine turkey. You don't want to be, brining a butterball or something like that. You're going to have trouble.
Yeah, and I will tell you where I see it the most, and on a whole bird or a spatchcocked whole bird, it's great. Wings. And you only have to brine wings for 2 or 3 hours, but it really adds a good pop. I really enjoy it, and it's super quick to do. If you're doing wings for the game, just throw them in brine in the morning, pull them out 3 hours later, wash them down, pat them off real well, and season up and go to work.
Yeah, man. Brining turkeys became one of my hits for people when I'm doing parties or cooking for something, because I'll take a whole turkey, and people are used to grandma, taking a turkey, throwing it in the oven for 12 hours and having this dry ass turkey. I take it, part it out, and I pull the boneless breasts off and the drumsticks, and I do the thighs, bone them out, and then put a brine on them. And I throw them on the pellet grill, 275 or 300. You get a turkey done in an hour and a half, and people can't believe how good turkey is. That dry turkey, they regret it. All of a sudden, they absolutely love it.
Well, there's a reason working for Traeger, when somebody buys a Traeger, the first thing we tell them to cook is a chicken on it. And the reason we do is, one, everybody grew up eating that dry ass gas grilled chicken. So there's going to be, once they taste that flavorful, juicy chicken, and it just happens when you cook with convection too. You know what I mean? Regardless of what pellet grill it is. I mean, you're cooking with convection, and if you pay attention to the time, it just turns out to be a great product. But you're going for bonus points over there, parting it out, and that way you can pull it when it's right. I mean, you're doing some pro shit over there, TC.
Yeah,
oh boy,
it comes out good. I think back, you talk about cooking on the Traegers and them being juicy. I know you've probably seen this a million times. I know your buddies with him, but old Benny Kendrick, when he took that turkey and cut into it, and that damn juice shot out of there like it was shot out of a hose. That tells you right there, right?
Oh, it was like he turned on a water spigot, man. That thing was about as juicy as it gets.
Yeah, I want to say that's
I think that was the turkey he was telling me, cumulative across all platform, had something ridiculous, 30-40 million views. It was a crazy piece of content, and just a testament to how well you can cook a bird on a pellet grill. No, it was impressive.
Yeah, that was cool, man. That was
so. Cool. You'll find out this podcast, we get off on exits every now and then, but we're going to get back on the highway.
Yeah, let's do it.
So you're in St. George. The wife's working down in Vegas.
Yep.
You find a custom exempt shop. You're doing some work with some local farmers there, farmers, ranchers, whatever we want to call them. Good old boys that are making some damn tasty eats.
Right.
So tell me about where the journey goes from there.
So I'm working at a little shop owned by a guy named Adam Christensen. It's called Dixie Meats, and I will throw it out there. He's a good friend of mine. He did a lot for me. So if you're ever in the St. George area, check him out. Dixie Meats. He's got great stuff. And would do a lot of cooking around the house and cooking for friends. And my kids said I didn't have any social media platforms at all. And my daughter said, "Dad, you should start an Instagram and put up some pictures and show people what you're doing." And being kind of an old country guy, and growing up and where I did, I was like, I'm not doing that shit. I want nothing to do with that. I don't know.
I ain't messing with that.
Yeah, I ain't doing that.
Nonsense.
Yeah. But so my daughter set me up my Instagram account, and I just started posting pictures, just kind of showing stuff that I liked. And just like Instagram used to do back in the day, it kind of took off and it started growing on me. And so I just kind of, my journey started from there, and because of the social media, I've got to make so many amazing connections along the way that it's like, I've made connections that I never deserved to make, because I talk to people just because I post up a cool picture of a steak that, never on any other avenue of life would I've known these people, let alone get to talk and have a conversation with them, And so that led me to getting to be part of the Butchers of America USA Butcher team in 2022. And, we had the World Butcher Challenge, which was 15 countries from around the world came out to Sacramento, California. And that's where we were able to, do our best and compete against the other countries. And we were able to, get lucky. And like I say, we tied with Germany for first place for best beef sausage in the world. And that's a pretty good award.
Bro, that's a testament. I remember when I was working in that deli manufacturing facility doing the purchasing, I remember we had 3 Germans that worked in our sausage room, by far the best paid guys on the floor. But man, you talk about guys that take their craft so serious, like to tie with those guys for first, that's almost some shit that should go on your headstone, bro. Like that's legit.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, man. It was really exciting to get to be part of it, And so now,
So I'm kind of a competition guy. So you got to like walk me through a little bit of the detail of that. Like, so are you able like to bring in your own, like are you able to bring in your own animals, or does everybody start with like how does that work? Because like mine, I'm kind of curious now.
I'll tell you how it goes. So at the World Butchers Challenge, everybody competes on the exact same playing field. You got a half a carcass of beef. It came from Stemple Creek Ranch out in California.
Okay.
You got a half a hog, and then we got a half a lamb, and then you got I think a half dozen chickens, and they all came from the same farm. Everybody got the exact same thing, and you have 2.5 hours as a team of 6 to build the best displays you possibly can. So you take raw, whole carcassed animals, and by the time you get to the end, 2.5 hours in, the countries have these big, beautiful, massive displays of 6-7 different varieties of sausages, 30 different types of steaks, all these different over the top, oven ready to cook meals. And you just build a big, huge display table, and it's amazing. I didn't even know.
Damn.
Like, I knew it was going to be really cool, but like we're in the middle of it and you're just doing your thing. And I go around to hang up some sausages, and there's Tyler Florence, a San Francisco guy. He's out there like standing right next to our table, and he's like grabbing me like, man, this is so fucking awesome. And I'm thinking like, I've never met you. This is really cool, but get the fuck off me. I got to go, dude. I'm under crunch here, He was awesome.
We can hug this shit out 2 hours and 32 minutes from now, but I got a finite time, old boy. We got to go.
That's right. We got to make this happen, So, people really loved it. And I guess the world, so I just got to be part of the one team. The World Butcher Challenge started between Australia and New Zealand quite a while ago. I think the next one that comes up in 2025 is going to be like maybe the 7th or 8th version of it. So it's just growing and, doing different stuff.
All right. Proud sponsor of the show. Better damn well be Whiskey Bent BBQ. So this is a brand that Nicole and I started a little over a decade ago. You can find our rubs and seasonings in about 500 different retail locations throughout the U.S. Academy Sports, Select, Ace Hardwares, and then obviously here at our store in Lakeland, Florida. If you want to go check it out, please feel free to. WhiskeyBentBBQ.com, and you can use my discount code OldBoyPodcast for 15% off. Yeah, that's just so cool though, man. And to see it all come to light right in front of your eyes in 2.5 hours, that's really, really neat.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, the butchery, the history of butchery and the butcher themselves over in a lot of the European countries is it's like nothing that we have here in the United States. We've turned everything into boxed beef and big processing
Case
facilities.
ready. Yeah.
And butchers that work in a lot of these facilities, they might be the best guy at boning out chucks you've ever seen, but they don't know how to do short loins and they don't know how to set a meat case. They're just really top-notch professionals at what they do. But over in the European countries, the craft butchery is something that never went away. The butcher shops never went away, and they're excellent. They're so good. The history is so deep. So many generations deep. Like, just to compete against those other countries and to meet all those other people and get to talk shop with them was an amazing experience.
No, and that kind of brings me to another point I kind of want to talk about is, there's so many lost arts starting to become lost arts in the blue collar world. We do have companies like Trollco that we work with at Old Boy Apparel that, their dirty hands clean money. They're trying to put as much back into the blue collar trade as possible. But there's some of these places and I think butchery is one of them. I mean, as somebody that worked at Publix when that evolution of cattle packs that then came into case ready was happening, you started seeing guys run more wrapping machines than they were running a knife.
Yeah.
And you're not getting those reps. And then that's also one person that's not passing down those skills to somebody else, right? It concerns me. You live in it. You're a part of it. How concerned should we be that we're losing that trade, and what can we do to kind of bring it back in and educate this younger generation and excite them about the opportunity, even though there's not nearly as many of them as there used to be?
Well, you bring up something that's like this is a passion for me. Like, I really, really am passionate about trying to expand butchery to more people and to get more people trained and to get more people knowledgeable of butchery, right? It's something that is extremely limited, but shouldn't be. So I think the first thing we can do is what we're doing right now, right? We need to get the word out to young kids and people that are coming out of high school that hey, let's be honest, college ain't for everybody. It's not for everybody. There's a lot of great blue collar jobs out there that we need filled, and we need to let people know that, like, hey, not only is it a cool job because the environment you work in, it's a really damn cool job to be a butcher. I've met so many cool people along the lines working at the meat counter. I've got to do so many cool things. And when I tell people, hey, you know what, man, I travel the country now. I do classes. I've been in just the last couple of months. I've been in Las Vegas. I've been in California. I've been in Boston. I've been in Kansas. I've been in Tennessee, and they're like, holy shit, you're a butcher and you're out doing this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm just putting myself out there and going for it, and we need to recruit and we need to bring people in. And man, I'm scared to death, to be honest with you, because if we keep going the direction we are, some of this stuff you hear about, this lab grown meat and eating crickets and things, that might be more of a reality than we want if we don't have anybody to do the damn job.
Nope. I completely agree, because there's only so much you can automate, and I feel like we've automated about as much of it as we can.
Yeah.
When it comes to butchery, so somebody still has to, to get it done. It's like so many of the others, and I'm one of those too that I would love to just, and I got a college degree, I'm going to kind of knock it here. I did learn some great things in college, but I also know, I think for me, what was good about college is I had no idea this is what I wanted to do, and I still didn't when I got out of college. But I would love to see, okay, here's a guy that went to 4 years of college, incurred this much debt. Here's a guy that came right out of high school, took an apprenticeship in whatever trade, went up, earned their stripes, moved up, and then, eventually 8, 10, 12 years later, has their own shop or is a big part of a shop. What does their earning history look like compared to somebody that went to college, paid off all that college debt, and then really didn't start accumulating till maybe 26, 27, 28, in their career? I think it'd be really, really interesting to look at that, because I would say it's either damn near break even or, unless somebody went off to be a CEO at a Fortune 100 company, I would bet the blue collar guys got his neck in there and may even be a head or two ahead when all the chips are down and everybody's signing their retirement papers.
I think you're absolutely right. I think in a lot of situations, the blue collar guy comes out ahead on multiple reasons. One, you produce something and you accomplish something every damn day, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's struggles and there's hardships in any job in this world, right? But when you get to
Yes,
go
sir.
in and get started in the morning and go and work your tail off and walk out and visually see what you accomplished and the people you're able to impact, that has value, right? And people always told me that there doesn't matter what you do in life. The only way you're really going to find success and happiness is engaging and helping other people and interacting with other people, right? You can do everything you want on your own, but if you're not doing it with or for other people, it doesn't mean a damn thing. So I tell people a lot that one day in the butcher shop, you can meet somebody who's throwing a baby shower party. They're having their first grandkid and they want to get some good steaks because they're having a party, right? And the next time it can be, hey, my kid's graduating. I want to pick up an awesome prime rib. I'm having family over. And then the next person comes along and it's like, hey, man, I'm having a wedding. We got to get some food for it. Then the next person comes along and says, man, my grandmother passed away. We're going to have a wake. We're going to get the family together. I need something to eat. Like, we engage with people in every single step of their life, and there's value to that. It makes you feel good about what you
do. No, and I think it's also one of those professions, like the mailman, like the plumber, like you can be a part of the community. You know what I mean? Like, you're meeting people from all these different walks of life in the community, and you become a member of that community. Like, oh man, where'd you get this prime rib? Oh, dude, go down and see TC. Like, he hooked me up with it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's cool.
It's real cool. And then you meet cool people along the way, for instance, like your buddy, Tim Montana, right? I got to meet him across the meat counter a couple months back, and I looked up and I'd heard his music and stuff. Yeah. And I look up and he's standing there and I said, hey, can I help you out? Or I go, have you been helped out? And he goes, no. He goes, this motherfucker right there just told me to get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, no, I'm just screwing around, man. I'm just joking around. And everybody at the counter was like, what the hell's going on here? And then we stood there and we talked about elk hunting for the next 15 minutes, and he was a great guy to talk to, and so you meet great people. You better
be lucky. What he usually welcomes people with that he doesn't know, TC.
Yeah.
He'll hit them with that. You trying to get that ass whooped or that dick sucked?
Oh, damn.
And it kind of puts you in a predicament.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess he was being more PC because we were at the meat counter,
Hey, he was keeping it clean, old boy.
Yeah, that's right. That's for sure. So, I mean, that is also another cool thing that goes with this. So I just tell everybody, man, get out, and if you have a butcher shop in your area, if you have a local butcher shop, like, get in there and support them and learn their story. And they're going to share all of their knowledge with you, and they're going to try to help you every bit as far as they can, and that in turn is going to grow their business, and it's going to allow them to hire more people and to train more people and to keep this, this apprenticeship, this mentorship of butchery going, so that we have great butchers to be able to rely on, for the next future generations.
And utilize your word of mouth, utilize your social media, that they'll buy more. They're not going to run out of beef. Let people know about it, have them go in there, have them support it. I think that is completely awesome. So you hit on something also that's really near and dear to my heart, and then probably one of my favorite parts of what I do, and that's teaching classes. Yeah. Talk to me about some of these classes, some of these experiences. I was reading up on some of them. It sounds like some really awesome opportunity to learn and just have a good time and create memories. So talk about some of these classes you've done, some of these experiences, and what people can expect and what you get out of it.
Yeah, totally, man. So I do several different types of classes right now, and they're kind of, different settings, but I'll do like, I'll give you an example with Creekstone Farms. One is called Cure Camp, and I get to work with Michael Sullivan, who is kind of a legend in the whole meat industry. If you don't know Michael Sullivan, he goes by Reverend to Fat on Instagram, and he's just like a wealth of knowledge. There's not a guy that knows more about the science of curing meats and making sausages than he does. But we put on the Cure Camps, I should say he does, and Creekstone Farms does, and we bring chefs in from like a certain region, and then we get to break down beef, break down hogs, make some charcuterie, make some cured meats, and kind of teach the craft of butchery on a large scale to chefs for them to be able to go and take to their local restaurants, and share the knowledge that they've learned, or maybe expand on the knowledge that they already have. So those are fun. the ones that I like the most are the individual classes where we'll bring, 20 to 25 people together. And I'll work with, it could be shops, it can be small restaurants, and I'll get together with a local producer, and typically we'll do like pork out of it, but we've done steak classes as well, and you can also do chicken classes. And I'll bring out like half a hog. So I'll buy a whole hog from a producer, and I'll bring out half a hog, and we'll talk about the farmer, we'll talk about how the animal was raised, and then we'll start to break it down, right? And so I'll go through like the shoulder. I'll break off the shoulder. I'll talk about the parts, and then I'll say, hey, and it's you guys' lucky night. We got a great bartender over here who's cooking up making some awesome drinks for you. So we're going to get some of this great local spirits out to you. And chef has made a plate out of pork shoulders for everybody. Then they'll pass out the plate, and everybody gets to taste exactly what we're talking about, whether it be smoking or whether it be slow cooking. And then we'll move on to the different sections. So we'll end up doing like 4 or 5 courses, teaching people all about an animal, how it gets broke down, how it gets turned into the different cuts, and then different cooking techniques that go with it. And then they actually get to eat it and taste it. And it's really interactive. It's intimate, so I'll know the people, I'll know their names by the end, and we just bounce questions off the whole time. It's a blast.
No, that sounds like a blast. And it's just fun to get out there and share your knowledge with people and watch people's reaction. You know what I mean? And then talking to people after class, I always try to talk to as many people after class as possible because I want the next one to be better. And I can usually tell from what they shared with me about what they learned, what they were, shocked about, what they still had questions on. And then, we can just continue to, change our style and what we cover. But man, there is something about, just somebody calling or sending you a DM and just going, hey man, I think my in-laws put me in the will because that brisket was so good. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But in all seriousness, just people being proud of what they put out. And all we're doing is just sharing what we already know, just making a little investment in people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people really like it, like what you're saying, when they get to go home and use what they've learned and put it out on the table. I know without a doubt the number one class that people enjoy, or the section of the class that people enjoy the most, is usually the sausage making, right? Because they can go out nowadays, and you can go onto Amazon, and for a couple $100, you can buy yourself a nice little grinder, and you can buy yourself a nice little sausage pump, and you can start playing around, and you can start building your own flavors, and next thing you know, pork butts go on sale, and you pull all the money muscles off for yourself so you can cook them, smoke them, and do whatever you want. And then you take the rest of that pork shoulder and you fill your freezer with great sausage. So they're taking care of their family, they're saving on the budget, and they're having a lot of fun doing it, and that's rewarding.
No, most definitely. And do you have any, and I'm talking more from a personal level.
Yeah.
I mean, listeners, y'all can join in too, but do you have any brands that you recommend that are, I want to say economical. I don't want to say cheap because you get what you pay for, but something where you look at the value prop and the price and you go, man, I would look at this or this, or man, this would be the one, or any recommendations you have out there? Because it's something I've been looking to get into. Just I haven't done the research enough, and I figure, fuck, I got an expert right here on the other side of this thing. Let's just ask. Save me a couple Google searches. Hear it from the man himself.
So I think, and I have no affiliation with these guys. I've just used their products and I like them. I think the best handheld sausage stuffers and grinders for people that are accessible right now are definitely like the Cabela's Pro Series, right? For the Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops. They have some great grinders and some great sausage pumpers in an affordable price range. But if you want something that's going to last, if you're a hunter or you want to do like a catering business or something, that Cabela's Pro Series, you can get yourself into a good grinder for under $500, and you can get yourself into a great pumper for under $300. And that's something that is going to put out, professional quality stuff, and it's going to last for a long time. And I think the best part about it also is that all of the parts are available. Like if you lose an O-ring, if you lose a little piece, you can easily replace it, keep right on going.
Yeah, because I'm looking for it. I want to mess around with using some of my whiskey bent seasonings and some sausages and just see what flavor profiles I can do, mix and match, eat a couple more mistakes. But just kind of get into that, because I know for me, like, I'll always love barbecuing. I mean, it's a passion, but at times it's like, well, what the fuck else can I throw on the grill? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Trigger came out with the Flat Rock griddle. They did that about 2 years ago. And so that was kind of a new lease on life, right? Okay, I got a grill and a griddle I can play with now. Awesome. And then it was like, I was kind of thinking the other day on the plane ride back from Vegas, I was like, man, okay, what's the next thing I want to mess around with? And sausage has always been something that I've been inquisitive about, that I've just wanted to understand more about the making, the process and this and that. And so, and having you on, I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and get a couple questions answered while you're here.
Yeah, man, I've always wanted to put together a class for the barbecue industry people, just industry folks, and we could get together and teach and talk sausage and things like that. Because it's really funny you say about like messing around with your seasonings, because I haven't done that with yours specifically, although I have 3 or 4 different ones in my cupboard right now. But I do have friends in the industry that I have taken their seasonings and used them directly into sausages. And dude, they'll blow your mind how good it is. It's an opportunity to grow sales in the seasoning category. It's an opportunity to give people a different play on what you can do with things, and it's also just knowing how to do it. There's a lot of power in that as well.
Yeah. And for me, just the one, like the Rocks is our red meat rub. And I just like that in a beef sausage, I think would just be killer. But we'll see. I'm definitely going to make an investment in some equipment and start playing around with it.
We should just get together and do it. That's what we should do.
Hey, TC, one thing you'll learn about Chad Ward is do not threaten me with a good time, because I will take you up on it, old boy.
Yeah. So I got to tell you a funny story on that. And I don't know if you remember this, because it was kind of a crazy night, but a few months back when we were at the American Thread, I don't know if you remember, I met you there in Nashville.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's all these cool people around, and we're sitting in the back and, watching all the artists and everybody singing, everybody's hanging out, and I'm having a beer, and I look over and I tell my wife, Jesus, that's Chad from Traeger over there. I got to go say hello. That's like a fellow, that's a boy of mine. I don't even know him, She's like, "Rut?" I was like, "Yeah." That. I'm like, I don't care. All these musicians can stand here. I'm walking right past them. I got to go talk to Chad and say what's up, So that's awesome.
Yes. And I love that. And we're talking about our buddy Tim Montana's American Thread clay shoot that they have every year, and it sells out every year. And and Tim and that group, the Pardews, everybody that helps put it on, special op excursions, all those dudes, salt of the earth. But man, that thing raises around $400,000 a year. 100% goes back to the charities, and nobody takes a damn dime. And we've awarded so many scholarships, and I mean, it is so cool. And Tim's just that great connector of people. You wouldn't think it when he walks up to the meat counter, long hair, a couple of foul words, but there is not a more generous person with their time, with their connections than Tim Montana. Like, he just enjoys giving back, and just one of those guys that, when he hits number 1 on the rock charts this year, he'll still be the same dude. Like, I love him for it. He's a brother to me.
Yeah, it was great. And I left there really inspired by Crispy when he talked about his story.
Yes.
That's you really know what you're there for, and you know what you're raising money for, and you know the cause that you're supporting when you hear it firsthand from a guy like that. So that was a good evening. That was a cool evening. That's a Nashville evening.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it always ends with great live music.
That's right.
And no, that's a ton of fun. But to get back to what we're talking about, yes, I would love to get together and do that. And then the other thing here too, at my new, my Nicole's new headquarters here, Whiskey and Barbecue in Florida, we've got a classroom right next door here to the podcast studio. So maybe we even talk about having you come down, and we can spend a day or two together before, and then we do a class on a Saturday and really advertise it and pull some folks. And I know there's a ton of interest around butchery and sausage making, and I think it would just be a ton of fun. And then you show your thing, and then I can do my thing, and I think people would enjoy it.
Yeah, people love that stuff, man. They want something to do. I tell people all the time, and people are always looking for something to do. And I'm not saying that they're never going to do this again, obviously, but you've seen a lot of movies, and you've gone to a lot of
Yep.
great restaurants, and you've got on all the hikes,
Yeah.
let me introduce you to something a little bit new, let me introduce you to something that's
Right.
out there. And, I know one of these days, and something that I've always wanted to do is one of these days, I'll catch on with somebody, and we'll take this thing and we'll kind of blow it up, and we'll travel the country and we'll teach classes, all the time, because I get DMs all the time about questions about butchery and about making sausages and different stuff. So I know that it's something people are really looking for.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, in all honesty, just sitting here talking, I think we realign after this and figure out something we can do here at my store, and then we could hone it from there. And that is one thing. I know a ton of store owners that like to invest in their business and like to give their customers unique experiences. So I think that's something that's only, and I also believe too, as more people, like we were talking about earlier, want to know where their food came from. Well, when they know where it came from, what's the next thing they want to know? How it was handled, how it was broken down, those type of things. And that's just feeding that need. And I feel like the more educated consumer we have, the more we're going to support those local farms, those mom and pop butcher shops, because people are going to want that. They're not going to want that big box beef, and pork and chicken anymore.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like talking about experiences and different things like that. I'm heading out in July. I'm heading out to the UK to do a big butcher wars competition out there with they're taking two butchers from like 10 or 12 different countries. I think 12 different countries to bring two butchers from each country. And it's this massive smoke and fire barbecue festivals where they have basically, I think your friend Danielle was just down in New Zealand and Australia, Danielle Bennett from BBQ.
Mm-hmm.
She was just down there kind of following the, I can't think of what that one is, but they have the Butcher Wars at it. And it's another, festival. They get people together.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one of those ones down there, I think in Sydney or something like that, sold 70,000 tickets to one of the days at the barbecue festival. 70,000.
Bro, so go back. I think it was Meat Stock.
Yeah, Meat Stock.
And if you go back to the first year they did Meat Stock, I was with Traeger, so it had to be 7-8 years ago. It was early in my career there. I was not there, but we had a team down there. And I get a call from the team. They're like, dude, we don't know what to do. And I said, what do you mean? They said, there's only 9 people here vending food, and 35,000 people showed up.
Yeah.
They're like, they had tractor trailers full of meat, like for us to cook. And there was supposed to be some rhyme or reason behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Chad, it became a free for all. Like, whoever had grill space, there's raw meat, there's hot grills, get it cooked.
Yeah.
And get it cooked to the appropriate temperature, and feed these people, or we're about to have a whole shit show on our hands. But I have always heard, I haven't had a chance to go down there yet, hopefully this year. But I've heard Australia's love for barbecue is second to none, like unreal.
Yes, it's skyrocketing for everybody I hear. There's an awesome butcher down there. His name is Brett Laws. He goes by Lawsy on Instagram. He's probably the best butcher in the world. If we were to have a New York Yankees of the best butchers, this guy goes to all of the butcher wars, all the meat stock competitions, and wins every fucking one of them. I don't mean here and there. I mean, he wins every single one. He's a great guy, and he's an absolute stud. And that whole the whole team of butchers down there in Australia, and I know a guy, Shannon, who's leading up the charge with the Butcher Wars and big part of Meat Stock down there. They're doing an amazing job expanding barbecue out there.
And do you ever see that guy? I cannot remember the name of it. They pop up in my TikTok all the time. It's a big barbecue restaurant in Perth. And they're only open like Thursday, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And so like they do some classes during like one day a week. And the rest of the time they're just getting ready for the weekend. And man, some of the barbecue and some of the dishes, I'm like, oh boy, if it wasn't so far, I'd just come down there and have lunch. I mean, it's really, really amazing.
I don't know if I've seen that exact one. I'm sure I probably have. I don't know the name of it.
I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link next time it pops up in my feed. Man. It's pretty cool.
I would love to see it. I can't wait, but it's growing. I've been told, now don't mark me on this because I'm not sure. I've been told by some people over the course of the weekend at this Ascot racetrack in London, there's going to be upwards of 100,000 people for a barbecue, rock and roll, and butcher festival type thing.
Wow,
Yeah,
dude, that's gonna be a party.
it's gonna be a party, man. There's gonna
Yeah,
be a lot of companies over there, and I can't wait.
dude, that's gonna be a plan. You said that's in July.
That's in July. Yeah, that's in July, and then I'm doing another. We have another cure camp, like an international cure camp, coming up with Creekstone Farms for all of the international vendors that they have. They're going to be coming out. We're going to be teaching butchery in Kansas coming up in May 7th, in about 6 weeks here in Wichita. So that's going to be a great time. But yeah, the growth of the barbecue is immense.
And I love to see it worldwide. I really do. It's awesome. It just continues to give, us folks that are in the barbecue business just more and more, hope. Another area that people kind of sleep on, but I move a ton of product up there, is Canada.
Oh yeah.
Certain areas of Canada, man, they love especially like that Alberta area, like them boys like some red meat. They like to get down, you know what I mean? And and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, there's a couple great guys up there running some of these barbecue and Instagram accounts that I watch and I like following. And that's another place. It's like, blue collar as it gets in some of those communities. Those guys are getting up and working hard and ranching and farming every single day. And the framers, the electricians, and the welders and stuff. Those are good people up there. That's tough living up there sometimes too, because the summers are hot and the winters are cold, man.
And the type of cold that this Florida boy wants nothing to do with at all, ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's fun to kind of watch the ride. So right now, you travel, you have some of these cool opportunities. What's the day-to-day look like, TC?
Day-to-day for me, 40, 50 hours a week is I working with a great little company down here in Nashville, in Brentwood. I'm the meat department manager, so I'm in there running the counter 40 hours a week. The company's called the Fresh Market.
Okay.
In Brentwood.
I'll definitely check it out next time I'm there. I know
it's a cool place.
And Brentwood, man, you talk about, as Nashville's exploded, Brentwood has just like it's gotten crazy.
Yeah, it has. It's a beautiful place, man. I liked it. I like when you head south out of Nashville, right? You get all of the rolling hills and the fences and the properties and the beautiful homes, and it's a great look at kind of what's going on around Nashville. If you like the scenery and if you just like to see some beautiful stuff and some beautiful countryside, it's impressive out there.
I'll tell you, man, you would have never thought it's like 15 minutes out of Nashville. But sorry, Jeff Fisher, the former Titans coach, owns a couple 100 acres out there. And it is a buddy of mine's, good friends with him. And so he's like, hey, man, you mind if I take Chad out there? Just like, sure, man. Just super nice guy. So we took some UTVs out there and just ripped around. And man, it is so like South Tennessee gorgeous, but like, you get in the truck and 15 minutes later, you could be on Broadway. It's like, how the hell is this that close to that? You know what I mean? And, but yes, there is so much pretty beautiful country out there. And I may have snagged me an old bass or two while I was out there too, old boy. We threw her back. Let somebody else have fun with them. But,
love that.
But man, it was a beautiful little piece of land. But yeah, Nashville to me, like, speaking of, and a lot of people traveling to Nashville, you being local there now, give us a off the beaten path, a place that people don't talk about. Doesn't have to be barbecue. Just, you guys are going out for a nice dinner to a place that people don't know super well. What would you recommend?
Well, I think when everybody comes to Nashville, they want like a cool music experience, but maybe not Broadway's not everybody's cup of tea. So a few minutes down the road from Broadway actually turns into a road. They call it the West End. And there's a little place called The Local. And they got some damn good burgers. They got affordable beers. And they have great music every night. When you're in Nashville, that's always something that's super impressive. And I got a good buddy of mine. His name's Clinton. He runs a company called Josephine's Jams, but he's a pit master. And this is a guy that like knows barbecue like the back of his hand, but nobody really knows about him. So if you're in Nashville and you get an opportunity to follow Josephine's Jams and look up Josephine Jams, you get to pick up some barbecue on like a pop-up from him. Did his ribs, his beef ribs and his pork ribs and his significant other's partner, they make this Lao sausage that's like nothing I've ever had before. And its flavors go together and it will knock your socks off. It's incredible, man. So those would be my two spots, you know. And then also, like, if you do want like a good traditional barbecue spot, you got to check out the Peg Leg Porker. He's probably one of the better ones in Nashville. Peg Leg Porker and Martin's Barbecue.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man. I like Carrie Bringle, the owner of Peg Leg Porker. For y'all that don't know, Carrie and I actually, we weren't on the same episode, but we were both on Chopped season 1, Chopped Grill Masters season 1, and so got to meet him a bit there. And then I may have had to have some help out of his bar once or twice, but he has a really good wine and a really good bourbon. So hey, what can you say? And when you go visit Carrie and he's bellied up to the bar, he's about as Southern gentleman as it gets. You don't pull that billfold out unless you go take care of the servers, which I always try to do well. But yeah, Carrie's got a great place there. And then just all of his expansion into the spirits, into that new joint he just opened up.
Yep.
And Martin's is just a damn staple. You know what I mean? Like it's a great place and a good time.
Yeah, my son goes to school with Wyatt, Pat's son, over here at Nashville Christian. So they become pretty good buddies too. So man, I don't know Pat. I love the barbecue. I've eaten it many times, and you know our sons are friends. So maybe someday I'll get to meet and hang out with them. You know, talk barbecue, talk meat. Yeah, I have one, I think twice, both times with Bobby, and because they're good friends. And yeah, he's a nice guy for That's
sure. Awesome. So if I come over to your house and I say, hey, TC, I want a steak dinner.
Yep.
As a butcher, and I like, okay, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I'd have told you ribeye all the way. But as I've gotten older, and man, it's going to make me sound so old boy. Ribeye's a little rich.
Yeah.
To eat beef as often as I like to.
Mm-hmm.
So something like between, and filet's great, don't mind it. I found myself settling on strips a little more, but giving you that, and I know you're going to come up with something. I think I know where you're going to go.
All right.
But what do you think? What are you serving? What are the sides?
Okay, so I like to hit people with like different textures and profiles. So I like to do 2 or 3 different things.
I love it.
I like to do like something that's going to be slow cooked, and I like to do something that's going to be like a medium rare. So if I'm going out on a limb and I want to really impress somebody with something that they haven't had often before, I'm going to throw like a picanha. I'm going to throw a picanha on. I grew up like with my dad being a butcher, right? Top sirloins would go on sale. Like when I think of steak, I think of top sirloin. That's the flavor that comes to my mind. So,
bro, we both grew up broke enough just to know how good top sirloin is. I love it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw a picanha on there for sure, and then do one cut that is not simple to do, and it's pretty unique. Not a lot of people do it, but if I'm going to throw something on the smoker and go a long ways with it, I like to take a good shoulder clawed heart off of the chuck shoulder clawed, pull it off, and I call it the ranch steak. I pull it off as a big whole piece, kind of similar to what I was saying about doing the Denver, and I'll pull off like the whole section underneath the gristle of the shoulder clawed of the ranch, and I'll throw that on the smoker, and I'll give that nice a long, slow smoke, and that's so damn good. And then if we're doing sides, you know, we're gonna build some potato salad. We're probably gonna build some pasta salad. We're gonna make some kick-ass baked beans that are gonna go with it. Sorry, I know we need to eat some greens, but I'm probably ain't gonna eat any greens when I'm bringing people over, you know, because we're gonna have a hell of a good time. And then my wife makes the best damn banana pudding you've ever had. So we're definitely gonna have a big bowl of banana pudding too.
Hey. TC, I may have to say fuck that whole meal and just invest myself in that banana pudding. That's gonna be my cheat meal right there. I am a banana pudding horror boy. Like I love me some banana pudding.
Yep.
I've had plenty of debates about banana pudding, but a good banana. Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Her banana pudding, does it have whipped topping or meringue?
Whipped topping,
or neither.
Whipped topping, but it has to be homemade. It has to be homemade. And you
Okay.
got to go till it's stiff. You got to take it till it's like damn near like a sweet, soft serve butter.
Stiff peaks.
Yeah, I like it
I gotta have
stiff,
them
man.
stiff peaks.
I don't want it. I don't want it soft, but
No
definitely
limp
homemade.
peaks around here.
No, definitely
Awesome,
homemade.
dude. Yep. You got my mouth water. Now, since you did all that,
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring the bourbon.
I love
I'm gonna
that.
bring some of this I'm gonna bring some of this 5.9 whiskey, old boy.
I love
From
it.
our friends at Trollco put this together. I love it. It's got a very, very smooth flavor. I don't like what I call a hot bourbon. This is not it. It's easy to drink. The 5.9 means, most of us blue collar guys, we can sometimes work from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.
That's right.
But when you put that knife down, when you put those tools down, it's time to turn this bottle up. So I would bring that along as my thank you. I believe you may be getting one of these in the mail, but I'll bring a second one for
There you
dinner.
go.
Promise.
That's great, man. Hey, talking
so
bourbon for a second, off topic,
let's
man.
do it.
You talk about hot bourbons, man. I love craft bourbons. My wife picks them up for me when she's traveling and brings them home and stuff. But man, this 10 to these 115, 120 proof bourbons, man, that stuff's starting to get popular, but it sneaks up on you, boy.
I'm like, used to back in the day, if you were going to drink something that heavy proof, it was Everclear and it tasted like shit. So you weren't going to do too much of that. But now some of these high octane bourbons, like they go down a little too smooth. You're like, man, this could get dangerous quick. I got to throttle it back.
Yeah, there's one here in Nashville called Bellmead Distillery that I really been loving. It's like an old place, and I go there and I love their bourbon.
Yes, I don't believe I've been there, but I've heard about it. The name definitely rings a bell.
Yeah, that's it. Right across the street, they got Bellmead cigars. So go ahead and pick up a nice bottle of bourbon, go across the street, get a few cigars, come home, dude, fire up some oak and get the smoker going, and like you're heading in the right direction quick.
Dude, that sounds like a damn good afternoon and evening right there, my friend.
Yeah.
Two things I've got for you before we wrap up, because Jesus, this hour's done by quick. I guess that's what happened when a couple old boys start talking about shit they like.
That's right.
First off, do you have a recommendation on somebody that you know that I should bring on this podcast and have a discussion with?
Oh man.
Recommendation?
Yeah. There's a lot of people that you need to, that would be really, really good to talk to, if you want
Tim Montana. Don't say Tim Montana. He's already been blacklisted before even coming on.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I would never suggest somebody that I know him a little bit. I've talked to him. That's about it. I would never suggest something like that. But I would try to dig more into the butchery side of things. And I think Michael Sullivan from Creekstone Farms, a Reverend of Fat, he's a high octane, really fun guy with a wealth of knowledge. And I would highly recommend you, if you get an opportunity to talk to Michael Sullivan. If you ever watch that show, The Butcher on History Channel, he was one of the judges on there, and he would be an awesome guest to have on. He would love it, and people would enjoy listening to him.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And I've always been a fan of Creekstone. Back before the whole Wagyu craze in competition barbecue, and we were cooking primes, I would only cook Creekstone primes. And that's because, and in full honesty, I haven't cooked any of their briskets in a hot minute. But what I loved about ordering Creekstone briskets is they were always somewhere in that usually 14 to 16, or worst, wide range would be 13 to 17, which isn't a huge wide range. So the trim was always minimal. Like it would come to you. And I mean, that was what you were buying out of that brisket. 98% of it was very usable product. Yeah. So I just always liked their marbling, I always liked their sizing, and I always liked their trim. And it just made, competition barbecue, you're always, when you get hot, you just want everything to be, easy to replicate. And when you have a meat supplier like that can get you that consistency of quality and sizing, man, it was hard to say no. And their pricing was always, very economical for what you were getting, especially, and I would try to tell people this and look at it as, you've got to look at what did you pay post trim. Yeah. You may look at it and go, this is 30 cents more a pound, but if you're buying 3-4 pounds of just bottom fat, bunch of top fat on it that you're taking off, the one that's a couple pennies more a pound is still more economical.
Yeah, and also in the competition barbecue world, it's got to be a damn good brisket to start with to have a great brisket to finish
Yes.
with, and that goes a long ways too. I like the work that they do with the genetics of the animals that they're producers, because they're buying from small producers, right? That's one of the things they love to do on their tours is take people out to the farms. They're actually raising the beef and let people know about it, and so they're producing a great animal. It's a low stress environment, so you're getting a premium product at home, and I think that helps a lot.
No, that sounds great, and I would definitely love, given the opportunity, I would love to chat with them and dig into that a little bit more and talk about some of those genetics and some of those things, because I just think it's super, super interesting, and that's also somewhere where you can look at it and go, yes, while these guys are on a little bit larger level, so they're not a mom and pop producer, but they're buying from the mom and pops and they're paying attention to the genetics. They're caring for it like a mom and pop would, just on on a much bigger level.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And then the last thing, TC, before we say our goodbyes, and I have a feeling this will not be our only discussion. I'm thinking we can do one of these in person when we get down here and do that class together. But tell everybody where they can keep up with you. Kind of recap some of I know you got a ton of stuff coming up. Recap that, and anything else you want to share with the listeners, brother.
No, man. So I have two ways that people can reach out to me. You can go on my website at redbeardbutcher.com, and you can definitely reach out with any questions, kind of see some of the things that I'm doing there. You can also catch up with me on Instagram at redbeardbutcher on Instagram. Shoot me a DM, look through pictures. We can talk. I'm pretty good about interacting. I don't have like a super big account, so I'm not like one of these guys who gets buried, 500 deep in DMs or anything like that. I typically try to get back with everybody pretty quick if I can. Like I said, I got some classes coming up with Creekstone Farms in Kansas. I got the Butchers Wars over at Ascot Racetrack in UK coming up in July. And then I'm just going to be working at the butcher shop down there in Brentwood. And I got our third kid is graduating high school here in a few weeks. So we got graduation coming up. So I don't have a whole lot, booked up this summer because I got family stuff that I got to take care of. But I'm sure come fall, I'll be full speed ahead again.
Well, it sounds like, are we talking about an empty nest here soon?
Yeah, almost, man. We have three kids, my wife and I, 23, 22, and 18. And my son's going off to a small college to play football over in North Carolina. So we will be empty nesters. And my wife travels, so I'll be halfway back to being a bachelor before you know it.
Hey.
That's a lot of time to cook and drink.
Hey, let me tell you, that whole living alone, man, there's times where you're like, you know what? Especially after, we love retail, but there's certain days we hate retail, right? Like you just run into one or two where, sometimes going home to a quiet home and just going, all right, time to pour a little bourbon and just relax and put that one behind us and look forward to the next one.
That's right. That is absolutely right, man. And then there's times also that having a house full of people is just as worth it, if not more.
Oh, absolutely. You got food going, you got music, everybody's having a great time. I mean, that's probably better than just drinking away a shitty day by yourself. I will agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the peace and quiet every now and then is not bad.
No, that's good, man. I just want to take a time to say, man, I appreciate you and I appreciate the guys behind the scenes on the podcast, getting us together. And thanks for giving me an opportunity to come on and talk about butchery and something that's, really near and dear to my heart that I'm really passionate about. And man, I look forward to a lot more great events, and I look forward to getting together and cooking with you sometime.
Oh, hey, we will make it happen, TC. I look forward to it too. For you guys that may have missed it, make sure you're following TC at Redbeard Butcher on Instagram. You can also go to Redbeard Butcher over on the World Wide Web and check out all his fun stuff. TC, thank you so much once again. Keep spreading the word. Keep putting out those beautiful cuts for folks. And we look forward to keeping up with your adventures, and go make us proud over there in the UK, old boy.
Hey, thanks, Chad. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, buddy.
Later,
thank you so much.
Yeah.
See ya.
Later.
Thank you so much for listening to the Old Boy Podcast. Please subscribe, like, set your notifications, whatever you got to do to make sure you're getting the latest episodes. Also, feel free to go back, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple, get some of the past episodes, check those out, and always feel free to check out our socials, Old Boy Podcast. Thank you so much.